moment, I'm currently reading This Changes Everything, Capitalism versus the Climate, by a Canadian journalist called Naomi Klein. She's done previous books called No Logo and The Shock Doctrine. And basically it's an investigation into the relationship between capitalism and global warming. So the way that the economic system that we have perpetuates the rise of global warming. It's a really heavy book, really well researched. The reason why she started writing it was she gave birth to her first daughter, and she started looking around and realized that a lot of the things that she took for granted, her daughter might not possibly see. So that kind of inspired her to start the book. And she looks at every aspect of global warming. Very deep, very heavy, slightly concerning, very concerning actually, but she also poses some really good arguments as to how we can get out of it.
I am telling you about a book called The Grapes of Wrath, which is by John Steinbeck. He's a famous author, American author, who wrote Of Mice and Men. And this is a novel. It's about 1930s USA, about some kind of ordinary people who have the fairly extraordinary situation of having to leave their homes because of mass agriculture kicking them off of their land, and about the journey they go through. I think this book's really interesting. It gives you a great picture of a kind of a forgotten era, and really beautiful descriptions about people's personalities and scenery that you'd see around you. It creates a great image of what you're reading.
I'm reading The Silk Road, The New History of the World. And it's basically traces human history back to the very beginning and goes through until current day, but it tries to have a perspective more on the Middle East and Asia rather than a Eurocentric view of the world.
So the book we're reading at the moment in grade 4 is called The Sight by David Clement Davies, and what's so special about it is the author writes from the perspective of the animal. So the whole way through the book, in this case the animal is a wolf, you are almost one of the pack. So you're not viewing it as a human being, you are experiencing the story as a wolf. So I'll read you the back, just to create a bit of atmosphere. It is an icy night in the country that long ago was known as Transylvania. The wintry ground crackles as a hunter's paw breaks the hard earth. The wolf pauses, her breath like smoke in the cold air. Then a howl pierces the night. But it's her eyes, not her howl, that speak of danger. Beware of the sight. So if you get a chance, read it. It's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, the book I'm reading is It's Your World, Get Informed, Get Inspired, and Get Going by Chelsea Clinton, who is the daughter of former U.S. President Bill Clinton.
I'm reading a book called The Refugee Boy, written by Benjamin Japania. This book is a realistic fiction, which is my favorite genre. And this book, the Benjamin Japania, who is quite famous for his poem called Talking Turkey, this is his 5th book. And this book is about a 14 years African boy whose father was from Ethiopia and whose mother was from Eritrea, and both countries were fighting, and his family decided to send him to England, attempting to seeking a refugee status. So his dad brought him to England, and they actually took a hotel to stay there for a while, and the next day his father left him, written a letter that he has no choice but that. And Benjamin Japania described after that what happened to the boy, Alan Callow, how he actually faced all the challenges in a new place, in an asylum center, in his school, and his fostering family. This book is a powerful, stimulating book that demands to be read by everyone.
Very much. I recommend all her books. They're really well researched, incredibly insightful and interesting. Yeah.
I'd recommend it. It's a really long book, or quite a long book, so I'd recommend reading Of Mice and Men first, because It's quite a short book, but a really good read and quite sort of similar writing. So go for that one first, and if you like it, then try this.
I definitely would recommend it to anyone who enjoys reading history and knowing about the world, and definitely ones that maybe want to see it from, again, a different perspective than the kind of normal Eurocentric view that we get from history. It's a long book. It's over 700 pages, but luckily the last 200 pages are just endnotes. So it's about 560 pages. So it's a big read, but you can do it in chunks. You don't have to read it all in one go. Each chapter kind of focuses on a different phase of history and time.
Absolutely, yes. And another book is called Firebringer. It's also by the same author, again through the eyes of an animal, in this case, deer. So really, really different.
Yes, I would recommend this book definitely to maybe upper MYP students and our DP students.
I highly recommend this book, especially the teenagers and people who are interested in immigration, refugee, and humanitarian activities. Thanks for that.